Thank you for joining us for another edition of our Operational Reality with Rocco Million Live. I'm Rocco Million, your host. This is my group, Nonpartisans for Progress. I'm a disabled veteran trying to participate in our democracy because that's the only way democracy even works. And the only way to effectively participate in our democracy is by understanding our actual operational reality, MMT. So that's what I focus on, to educate and empower the public so that we can ultimately force our socially owned government to satisfy our Constitution and our public purpose. So, do we have a booming economy right now? I mean, everywhere I look, I'm hearing about this booming economy and the low unemployment rates. What's it all mean? And the fact of the matter is, you can't have a booming economy when you have record numbers of Americans in personal debt, record personal debt. All right, you can't have a good economy when America is literally crumbling, in need of work all over. And we're targeting 5% unemployment. We're forcing millions of people to be unemployed as our communities are crumbling in need of work all around us. All right, that's not a good economy. That's not a booming economy. For millions of people, they go out and get a job and they'll get a starvation wage job. They cannot make ends meet working full time with their, and that forces them into credit to make up the difference or crime. And so that's not, both choices are unsustainable. It's bad for our economy. And here's the thing, if you have involuntary unemployment present, then it's always because the government made a decision to, not spend the dollars required to give that person paid employment and have them do useful work. All right, so it's artificial scarcity. If we have unemployment present, our government can always spend dollars hiring them, giving them jobs, training them to do the needed work our communities need all across America. That would be the public purpose for our government to not target full employment, to instead target the inequality of unemployment, 5% unemployment, and then that's forcing millions of people to be unemployed. All right, and it don't matter if these people have the best job skills. It don't matter if these people have the most education. When our government targets 5% unemployment, we're still going to be forcing millions to be unemployed. And then so desperate they're willing to work for starvation wages. So that involuntary unemployment, it drives down everybody's wages, creating starvation wage environments like we have today. And as a result, the majority of Americans don't make enough dollars to get their most basic needs met. So they're forced into record amounts of credit card debt for milk and gas and eggs. They're forced into record amounts of credit for healthcare expenses. They're forced into record amounts of credit for education, for energy, for healthcare, you name it. And this is a huge drag on our economy. And it's dragging down everybo's quality of life. My generation's our generation's average living age has even went down for the first time in a long time. I mean, that's just a small indication of how bad we actually have it today. So I take it personal when people say that the economy is booming. When you look out your window, what do you see that's booming? I see potholes everywhere. I see bridges collapsing. I see gangs. I see addiction rates exploding. I see suicide rates exploding. I see starvation wage environments. I see schools understaffed, overworked, and inadequate. What about that tells you success? All right, when we look at a successful America, the last time was under the full employment policies of the New Deal. All right, we had record amounts of inequality back then in the Great Depression. All right, we had record amounts of systemic corruption back then. And the full employment policies of the New Deal changed all that. It took us from the Great Depression to the #1 world superpower with a middle class that was the envy of the entire world, with top-notch public education, top-notch public health care, public transportation, because our government deficit spent investing into our society and maximizing our productive capacity with the full employment policies of the New Deal. That's how we know how to be successful. All right. The only thing stopping us is, infant mortality rates are up, especially among, people of color, black women. It's just insane. People are going without the drugs they need, or they have to choose between drugs and food. Senior citizens, I live around tons of them. I like Jeff, my friend Jeff, he's a senior who's homeless. He's on the street. He doesn't have the health care he needs. He doesn't have the housing, the nutrition, any of the things that you should, have in the richest country in the world. Anywhere. These are human rights. They're not freebies. Just like it's not a freebie when our government hires a military and we all get free protection. All right, that's not free stuff. That's not evil socialism. That's just an essential public service needed for America to exist in perpetuity. We need to have protected populations. So it's the government's job to provide a military for our common defense. In the same exact way, we need populations of healthy and educated people. All right, so it's not evil socialism, it's not free stuff when we suggest our government hire doctors and healthcare professionals to keep Americans healthy. Or we suggest government hire teachers to keep Americans smart. All right, that's not evil socialism, that's the job of a socially owned government. That's why we have a government, to ensure freedom and opportunity for all, to make sure that the markets stay fair and free for all. So we need a government to, protect the common people and the public interest against the oligarchs, the mega rich, who wish to subvert our democracy and use our public purse for their own, personal gain. It's that simple. Do you accept class war in your name or not? Because if not, then you probably shouldn't accept a government targeting unemployment while America's crumbling. That's artificial scarcity while millions of people are suffering and dying. It's sick. It's unsustainable. And it forces us into tons of unsustainable credit, which leads to booms and busts. When that credit dries up, it leads to a bust. And then the government has to move back in and move into a huge deficit position to bail out the rich. All right, so it's sadistic. Either way, government's going to be spending. It would always be better for the government to deficit spend enough up front, targeting true full employment to balance our economy up front with a federally guaranteed living wage job program, rebuilding America and meeting our needs with essential public goods and services. Then we wouldn't be the precarious class dependent on predatory lending just to survive. All right, it's that simple. So you have to understand that. And even the people saying, oh, well, I'm for small government. I don't like all this government stuff. Well, right now you're for a government action. You're for either the government taking the action of targeting unemployment, which is class war and inequality, or you're for the government targeting true full employment. All right, there's no other choice you can make. So understand our operational reality and take a position, and then defend that position. So, Amber, you got any good questions? Anything you want to talk about? Taxes do not fund the federal government. I say it over and over again. We always have to keep pointing this out. It's very simple logic. As a taxpayer, we can't make dollars. All right, if we do, we're called counterfeiters. We go to jail. So that means we cannot, simply as a point of logic, we cannot fund our currency issuing federal government because we can't make dollars. Only Congress makes dollars by law per Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution, which mandates Congress lay the tax and pay the debts. In other words, it mandates Congress mint and tax. to provide for our general welfare and common defense. So that means our government never needs to find dollars. All dollars are made from thin air by law. All right, our government needs to find real resources. And it does that by imposing tax on us in the private sector, forcing us to become sellers of goods and services to get the dollars we need and satisfy our tax. That's unemployment. So government imposes that tax to create unemployment, then it provisions society as it spends, creating paid employment. All right, that's how simple it is. After government spends more than it taxes back in, that's called a federal deficit. It's leaving surplus savings in existence. Now the capitalist economy is then born. Now people have savings they could use to hire each other and do business amongst each other. But still, everything's dependent on the currency issuing government to keep injecting currency into the economy and keep regulating the economy, because everything's regulated by law. The government creates the economy as it spends taxes and regulates. All right, that's central planning. So we centrally plan our capitalist economy. People don't think of it like that, but that's the way it is. Nobody in America even truly owns land. We all rent. We all pay tax. And even still, government can still take any land it needs for the general welfare. People in America have their land taken for football stadiums. They have their land taken for border walls, for anything the government wants, for oil wells, for profit. They violated native treaties, native sacred lands to put oil wells, to make profit. They took those, so government in reality owns everything. All right, nobody owns land in America. Just like communist China, we all rent. We all pay tax. And how government spends taxes and regulates organizes the economy. It creates the markets, determines how the markets work, everything. So there's only two choices. We either force that government to create the economy and maintain the economy for the betterment of all, to raise everybody's standard of living, to provide freedom and opportunity for all, or we allow our socially owned government to work to subvert our public purpose and to work for the private purpose of the oligarchs, all right, and leave us with the scraps. That's our neoliberal status quo today. That's what we got. It's not a booming economy. It's the exact opposite. Ever wonder why Trump, the so-called jobs president, doesn't talk about a federal job guarantee like a real jobs president would, like FDR? You don't say you're going to put Americans back to work and you're going to take care of the working class when you're okay with targeting unemployment, when you're okay privatizing essential public goods and services, making it so the working class doesn't get good health care or good education or even good infrastructure, good roads. We get for-profit energy, fracking wells in our communities. We get poison water. We get shit everywhere we go. We need to understand how these basics work so we could demand our birthright. We could demand economic and social justice. And the only way you do that is by destroying the mainstream lies and scare tactics that are used to keep us divided, to keep us fearing, justice. So when you hear them say, oh, we can't have nice things, our taxes got to go up. We can't, you want to have sky-high taxes? You tell them bullshit. How can taxpayers fund the government? Taxpayers can't make dollars. Only government can. So in reality, Congress has the purse strings. Congress is self-funding. A dollar is just a law to satisfy tax obligations. And the government can never run out of laws, so it can never run out of taxes. It's only the stuff dollars buy that can limit us. So all we have to worry about is our government making the required investments into our society and into our productive capacity to ensure we have enough real resources created and available for any dollars in circulation to then buy. That's it. All right? You don't ever need to worry about the government running out of dollars. They're infinite. It's just a social construct. It's a law. All right? All we have to worry about is our government investing our public money in a way that makes sure that all the real resources we need are created and available for dollars to buy. So we need to invest in things like healthcare, and things like education, and things like research and development, and infrastructure. This is basic common sense. The economy would boost if Social Security payments were increased. Those receiving Social Security payments would spend directly into the economy. Absolutely. There's no demand at the bottom. That's the problem. When our government from both parties target unemployment from the 70s, they're artificially suppressing wages from the 70s. All right, and then you end up with these starvation wages, so nobody has disposable income to buy our record gains in production. So people need record amounts of private debt and crime just to survive. So any way you can put dollars in the hands of the people at the bottom would spur the economy. It would help the economy right now. But the federal job guarantee is by far the best way. Instead of just giving people money. Social Security, though, is good. It needs to be increased. Seniors need to have a dignified, life like everybody else. But I think with the federal job guarantee, many seniors could again work. There's tons of things people could do that aren't traditionally thought as work. Where seniors enjoy it. And if you're enjoying it, then it would be good to make money at it too, and still provide social value. So there's all types of things we have to look into, but the federal job guarantee, I believe, is the one program that we all need to shoot for right now. We all need this. It's the revolutionary progressive keystone program from which all other programs will flow. All right, it's either you target true full employment with a federal job guarantee, or you accept the systemic abuse of involuntary unemployment and privatizing our public goods and services. There's the only two ways about it. So we have to force our government to target true full employment, because it would never be in our public interest to target 5% unemployment and force millions of people to be unemployed as America is crumbling all around us. And it would never be in our public interest for our socially owned government to facilitate starvation wage environments in that way. So it would always be in our public interest for the government to spend the dollars required to buy up all the unemployed and to train them, do whatever's necessary, and then get them working and contributing on society, raising everybody's standard of living with essential public goods and services. This is very simple. We should at least be trying. And the last time we did this as a nation, it worked very, very well under the New Deal policies. America went from, the Great Depression to the #1 world superpower. All right, guys. Anything we want to talk about before I leave? Social Security can never go broke, too. While we're talking about that, Social Security can never go broke. It's just a law. And again, government can never run out of laws. So our government, by definition, can never default on a financial obligation that's denominated in dollars, because it makes dollars from thin air, by law, by decree. All right, so our government can always pay all future Social Security recipients. Again, the only issue is, did our government make the required investments into our productive capacity to ensure we have enough real resources created and available for any future Social Security dollars to buy? All right, and right now we're not doing that. With our neoliberal class war, we're starving our economy of those needed public investments. We're starving the economy of public education, public health care, and then when you have stupid and diseased people, that's not likely to meet our needs of tomorrow. That's why we have to be investing into these productive capacities, so that we can make sure we have the real resources created and available for any dollars in circulation to buy. So the people saying, oh, you're going to crash the dollar, you're going to run us off the cliff. No, that's exactly what we're doing right now as a nation. All right, as a nation, we are giving all the money in corporate welfare to the top, and they're not producing anything of value. All right, all the stuff getting produced is already being produced, and people don't have no money to buy it. And so that's the problem. We need bottom-up economics. Trickle down has been proven false. You could give all the money you want to the top. They could even make the very best products. But if nobody at the bottom has dollars to buy their production, they're going to go out of business every time. Only our currency issuing federal government could target the bottom income distribution with a federally guaranteed living wage job program to balance our economy, making sure the biggest segment of society has dollars so that they can always demand and guarantee the jobs of the skilled and educated above, because demand naturally bubbles up. You give people at the bottom living wage jobs, first of all, we get socially valuable goods and services. Second of all, they have dollars to demand the services and goods of the skilled and educated above them, because demand naturally bubbles up. That's how you make a sustainable consumer-driven economy. Again, you could give all the money you want to the top. The so-called job creators, they're not the job creators. They can't, only a balanced economy provides the consumers that are needed to complete the loop. All right, a consumer-driven economy runs on consumers. It runs on consumption. So you can't give all the money to the top. Why would they invest in their business? Why would they hire more people to increase more production when they know nobody has disposable income to buy their production? And that's evidenced by the fact we have record amounts of personal debt right now in America. If you have record amounts of credit card debt and personal debt and private debt, that's telling you Americans don't have no disposable income. Nobody would rather have credit cards at 20% interest, 27% interest. They get those credit cards because they have no dollars to do what they need. That's the whole point. It's out of desperation. I forget where I was at. Okay, guys, anything else you want to talk about? Oh, yeah, bottom-up economics. So, again, that's just simple logic that you can use to destroy the mainstream narrative. Trickle down can't work. They only by targeting the bottom income distribution can we balance the economy. The bottom income distribution is the biggest segment of society. So the more dollars they have, the more they guarantee and demand the jobs of the skilled and educated above them. Again, that's bubbling up. Demand bubbles up. It doesn't trickle down. You could give the rich all the money. They're not going to invest in their business. They're not going to trickle that money down on it. Gone. It ends starvation wages. Gone.